Hello everybody, my name is Shiv Mehra, and in today's screencast we are going to configure an adaptive AP7131N to stream YouTube style videos to multiple laptops. So let's get started. Our setup here consists of a wired switch to which we have our RFS and AP connected. The AP is adopted on the RFS switch. The RFS switch configures the AP and manages it. However, it is configured to be an independent wireless LAN, and hence traffic is locally routed by the AP. Multiple clients associate to the AP and stream video through the VLC media server, which is connected on the wired side of the AP. Our key hardware components here are the AP7131N, the RFS controller, a wired gigabit switch, a wired laptop on which we run the VLC media player, and the wireless laptops. The wireless laptops used in our setup have the Intel 5300 chipset. However, you could use any 802.11n compliant chipset as long as it supports 300 megabit data rates in transmit and receive. The software component used in our demo is the VLC media player. This player can be configured to be a client or a server. Let's log into the RFS switch and configure it. The first thing we want to do is set the country code on the RFS and then create a wireless LAN. To create a wireless LAN, we need to enter an SSID. We need to create a security policy if we need one. We need to make sure that the wireless LAN is set to independent mode. This would ensure that the packets are locally routed by the AP itself and nothing is tunneled back to the switch. We have to enable the multicast mask, and finally we need to enable the wireless LAN. To configure QoS for multicast streaming, we first need to acquire the MAC address of our multicast stream. To do so, you can either sniff the packets on the wired or the wireless. In our example, our MAC address is 01005E1D23AB. In order to derive the multicast mask, all we have to do is replace the last four quads with zeros. So our multicast mask for this example would be 01005E1D0000. As seen, we have just replaced the last four quads of the multicast address by zeros. To log into the RFS switch, the default username is admin and the password is superuser. This would help us log into the GUI of the RFS switch. In our example, we are using the RFS 4000. The first thing we need to do is to set the country code. So we're going to go ahead and select United States and click apply. Next thing we're going to do is create a wireless LAN. So let's edit this wireless LAN and we're going to call it video streaming. We are going to check independent mode AP. This will ensure that when the wireless LAN config is pushed to the adaptive AP, that wireless LAN works in the independent mode and the packets are routed by the AP itself. None of the packets are tunneled back to the RFS. If you would like to set in security, you can choose WPA2CCMP, hit config and enter a passphrase here. For our example, we are just going to leave it open for now. We would like to set the access category WMM, which is by default. For using multicast on this wireless LAN, we would like to set our multicast mask. In our example, it is 01005 Echo 1 Delta, and we are going to click apply. This would ensure that our wireless LAN has been created. It has an SSID of video streaming. We need to enable it. Just go ahead and enable that. To manually configure the AP7131N for adoption on the RFS switch, we need to log into the AP, navigate to the adaptive AP page setup, and enter the IP address of the RFS switch. The other parameter we need to enable is the auto discovery mode. Once these parameters are enabled, and assuming there is connectivity between the RFS and AP, the AP will automatically adopt on the RFS switch. In the factory default state, the access point's GE1 port is configured to be a DHCP client, Hence, it would get an IP address from a DHCP server on the network. To manually adopt the AP on the RFS, let's first log into it. The default username is admin and the password is Motorola. You will be prompted to change the password, so let's go ahead and change that and click apply. The first thing we need to do is set the country code in order to access any of the menu on the left hand side. So let's go ahead and set the country code to United States. Click apply. Now to manually configure the IP address of the RFS, we are going to navigate to the adaptive AP setup, and this is where we enter the IP address. In our example, we're going to enter 192.168.2.100, and we're going to enable auto discovery enable. Click apply. Once we set this, the AP would automatically change its status from standalone to adopted, assuming the switch is at this particular IP address. To configure the radios, the first parameter we need to set is a short preamble if it's a 2.4 GHz radio. This particular parameter is not available in 5 gig. We have to ensure that detemp period is set to 1, aggregation is enabled, and the channel width is set. There are two options for the channel width. One is 20 MHz and the other is 2040 MHz. For our demo, we are going to be using 2040 MHz. The channel and power have to be set to the optimum value. And finally, we have to set the rates. To configure our radios, let's navigate to access port radios. As seen on your screen, we have two radios adopted, which is one single AP. The AP can be adopted using DHCP option 189, or it can be manually configured with the switch or the controller IP address in the AP itself. To configure radio 1, which is our BGN radio, we will just highlight the radio and click on edit. We can go ahead and set our channel width to 2040, set our desired power to desired channel to be 1, set the power to be 10 dBm, enable short preamble just to make sure we get good throughput, enable set the detemp period to be 1. Let's just check our aggregation. It is enabled by default. If you would like, you could disable the AMSDU aggregation. The next thing we want to do is set our rates. So let's customize our rates. We do not want the legacy B rates in our rate set, so let's go ahead and disable our legacy B rates. We are going to enable our G rates, which are 6, 12, 24, and from our supported rate set we will get rid of our B rates. Click OK. Click OK. So our BGN radio has been configured for optimal performance. Let's go ahead and configure radio 2, which is our 11AN radio. The channel width is set to 2040. Let's choose a channel. Choose 64 and 60. Set the power to be about 10 dB. And let's set our detemp to 1. Aggregation, we can just disable AMSDU. The rate settings are what we expect. We expect the 11N rates to be in there. We expect 6, 12, 24 to be basic. And we expect the remaining 11A rates to be supported. So we don't need to make any changes in there. And let's click OK. So both our radios have been configured for video streaming. Our AP is now configured. We can associate multiple wireless clients to the AP either on one radio or on both radios. We need to ensure that the VLC media server is configured to run YouTube style videos. And finally, we need all our wireless clients to associate to the AP and stream video from the VLC media server. Thank you.